Joining us on the program this week, Paul Quantrill, one of the greatest Canadian-born pitchers in history. Joe Tilley Sports, coming up. Welcome to the program. We've got a great one for you today, folks. Okay, this man was born in London, Ontario, grew up in London, Michigan, and Port Hope, drafted by the LA Dodgers back in 1986, chose to attend the University of Wisconsin instead. He was drafted again by the Red Sox in 89. He pitched for 7 major league teams over 14 years, 6 seasons as a Blue Jay. He led the league in appearances 3 straight years. He's a former All-Star with a career ERA of 3.83, a member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, the man they call Q, Paul Quantrill. Paul, welcome to the program. Good to have you here, my friend.
Thank you very much, Joe. Great to be with you today.
So now we got a post from a guy named Ron Hyatt on the promo page, and he said, Paul and I played on the same hockey team as 5-year-olds in Port Hope. So do you remember a guy named Ron Hyatt?
I know the name from the area, but I can't remember that far. I'm getting too old for that kind of stuff, Joe.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, just well, we like to begin at the beginning. But how does a guy who's, I guess, born in London and grew up in London and Port Hope and parts of Michigan as well, how did first of all, why did you travel around that much, and how do you end up in the major leagues of baseball from there?
Well, born in London because my father was going to attending University Western, so his degree there, and then went to GMI. He's a General Motors exec. He climbed the ladder in GM, took us all around the world, took us over to Michigan, and by the time we went to Michigan, I decided. Then we went on to London, England. I figured I wasn't going to be a very good soccer player, so I stayed and finished up in Michigan my high school days, and so that's why we moved around so much.
So yeah, soccer wasn't the game for you. Baseball was working out pretty well, and it has worked out pretty well as it turns out. So I know that you guys were heavily involved in the auto industry. There's a dealership in Port Hope called Quantrill Motors, and obviously that's part of the family. I believe your sister runs it now. Is that correct?
Yeah, Lisa, my sister, runs it, does a great job, taking over from the old man, and probably spiced the place up. Now the old guy, he's down in Florida enjoying his time, and he's worked very, very hard. I never met a harder worker than my old man, so good for him and my mom.
Well, some of that obviously rubbed off on you. Would you attribute that hard work and the influence of your father as a major reason for your success?
I think so. I think we were basically farm people. Grew up out on Northumberland, Durham line, and my grandparents had a farm, and just it's that whole mentality of work and just don't get outworked. So I think that came through both my parents. My mother is just as hard a worker, and both were great influences on myself and my sisters.
Now, I know that family's being a big part of your life, and I know your immediate family as well, like your wife and kids, uh, like tell us about the importance of family in your life.
Um, I think for me, once baseball became my life and I signed professionally, it's a very difficult life, as you know, Joe. You see with all the athletics and traveling and everything, it just gets to be hard to have what we would call a traditional family life. And but if you come from a background of traditional family, you want to incorporate that. So I guess my answer to me is, for my life, was my wife, Allison. She ran all of that, made sure that we were still able to the great degree, have much of a normal family. The kids always started school in Port Hope, Garden Hill, where we live, every year. They would come back and see me wherever I was playing. And we would pull them out of school and homeschool when spring training started so we could all be together. And rarely did I go on a 3 or 4 game road trip without the kids and Allison coming to see me in the middle of that road trip. So I never played with anyone else did that. It takes a special wife and a lot of effort to make that happen. But we lived a normal life. The only difference for me is I went to a lot of school field trips, and no other fathers do that, by the way. I get to go and with all the
Yeah.
mothers, hang out with the kids, and then jump in my truck and drive to Toronto.
So it did definitely have its benefits. But you know, there's an old saying, "Happy wife, happy life." I know our wives often don't get as much credit as they deserve, but you know, and I know that you know, Alice and my wife Penny Claire, they you know, I don't think we'd be where we are without that support and who, you know, having those people in our lives. So you're drafted by the Dodgers originally, but you chose to go to University of Wisconsin and play for the Badgers. What prompted that decision?
I think probably that's again a family thing, Joe. My father was very big on education, and mom too pushed us. And I just felt like where I was in my life, I was more of a hockey player here in Canada, of course. And so when I moved to Michigan, frankly, they suck at hockey. So I just said I'm going to play more baseball, and uh, and it just became something I cared about. But always school came first. We weren't going to be playing sports if we couldn't get the classroom work done. So I just, for me, it was a new thing. I didn't understand the draft and really wasn't ready or didn't want to actually play professional baseball at the time. I wanted to go to school, get my classes, hang with the boys, and have a good time and experience and grow up as a man, I think, in college. So I was also young when I went off to college at 17. So it was just a better move for me, and I never regretted it. I'm more proud of finishing up and going back and getting my degree than I am of anything I've ever done in baseball.
Well, in retrospect, yeah, clearly it was the right move. You get your degree, you end up getting drafted by the Red Sox, and you end up having an amazing career. So let's talk about, you know, obviously in Wisconsin, you were also the MVP and top pitcher, and you know, and an all-star there. So you're brought up by the Red Sox in 1992. And what was that like when you came to the big leagues for the first time?
Well, it was a little different back then because you didn't have your cell phone. You couldn't call home. I think I was on a flight and landed a layover in Pittsburgh before I could even call home and tell my parents I was going to the big leagues. So flew into Minnesota, spent a night there, and then off to Kansas City. So it was very much a whirlwind. When I got called up, I was in Syracuse playing the Blue Jays AAA club, and had a little bit of family down there. I spent the day with them, came back from lunch, and my teammates had my bags packed, and I had to get on the next plane, or they were calling up someone different because I'd already missed two flights. So it was one of the best experiences I can remember as a ball player.
Now, we just showed a little bit of video there of you. It was you threw you came in after Viola left the game with an injury. Frank Viola left the game with an injury, and then you deal high and tight to Eric Anthony, and
Mhm.
you know he drew the walk, and then so he's gonna walk towards first base. That's what everybody thinks. But all of a sudden he decides to charge somehow, when all heck breaks loose. Tell us about that incident. Apparently, you hurt your hand on it on the play.
Yeah, I might have been taking a swing, a very hard swing, and I caught someone in the bottom of the pile. But if you notice in that video, the fortunate part for me was Scott Cooper was playing third for us, and Eric, Anthony, and I had our words, some really nice, soft words to one another
Yeah,
over the
sure.
baseline. And when I went, when things settled and he headed to first, I I just naturally went back towards the mound. And if Scott Cooper didn't warn me, I barely got turned to realize that he had decided to throw his helmet at me, which seems a
Wow.
little bit much, considering we were just trying to be friends. But it was fun. It's not as good as hockey because you're in a pile and there's just a lot of swinging going on. My back had spike marks in it and such, but that's used to be part of the game, not anymore, but it was part.
Yeah, hockey fight's a lot more fair, right? You know, you can see the
Yeah,
punches coming and you're fighting one guy at a time and that type of thing. And you're at the bottom of a
yeah.
pile. And yeah, it was pretty wild, but nice introduction to the big leagues. So from the Red Sox, after a couple years there, and then you had a short stint with the Phillies. Then you came to the Blue Jays for Howard Battle and Ricardo Jordan. Now, some folks say it was
Mhm.
the best trade that Gordash ever made. You know, like those who follow the Blue Jays feel it was certainly one of his best. Now, did you feel some pressure when coming home to play for the Blue Jays?
Um, not as a not as an actual player or as professional. I think the biggest was more the family life. I established ourselves, my wife, who was just becoming we had only been married a year, um, but we had settled in that we had our baseball life wherever I was playing, Boston, Philly, and then we'd come home to Port Hope and really enjoy our off season and. That's just the way it worked. So when I got traded, and again, I found out I had been traded to the Blue Jays from my mother, and she happened to call my phone, and we were Christmas shopping up your way up near in Oshawa or Pickering Mall or somewhere, and she called all giddy. My mother was so happy and asked me what I felt about the trade, and I said, "Well, I don't know. Who'd I get traded to?" And she said the Blue Jays, and because I didn't react immediately positive. I think my mother was mad at me for about a year, but it just made we had to change our view of how we did baseball as a family. Is that now we're in the mix of it. I'm a Blue Jay, which is important to all of us in this area, but is the best time of my career. It's like playing summer legion, summer ball, but getting paid too much money and getting a nicer stadium. So awesome time in my career.
Yeah, and you were in the process of building a house in Port Hope, so that kind of worked out for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great 6 years of our baseball life. Absolutely.
So were you guys Blue Jays fans before? Obviously, your mother was, but was the whole family, you guys were all Blue Jays fans before that?
Yeah, I think so. We had moved around obviously, so I followed the Tigers a little bit when I was down there. But um, growing up Canadian, sometimes even my U.S. friends when I got there, they can hardly believe that I didn't. I'd only been to, I think, three major league games before I played in one. I've watched baseball, but I didn't appreciate baseball as a fan. I love playing. Never enjoyed anything more. It's my favorite thing to do, favorite thing as a little boy. But I was a hockey player. And hockey player, even today, if I went and played with the boys and did a pickup game, I would get butterflies. But you put me in a big league game, even my very first big league game, I wasn't that nervous. To me, baseball was always a game, and I'm not sure why that was. Probably the Canadian tilt of it, but it was just something that I loved doing. So I feel very lucky that I only played with one guy that ever thought had as much fun as me to play baseball, and that was Tony Pena.
So you had the, being loving the game like you do and not getting those butterflies. I mean, that's pretty cool. But you said you did get them playing hockey. Is it so? I know you said that hockey wasn't as good in Michigan as it was up here. So is that pretty much what kept you from pursuing the hockey career? Is just the level of competition just wasn't there?
Yeah, it wasn't really down in East Lansing, where we were living. There was just I would have had to almost drive to Detroit to play on hockey that we could get around here in any community. Like if you're in Port Hope, you drive up to Clarington, play AAA. But being perfectly honest, Joe, I wasn't going to make it in hockey anyway. So it's a good thing that
Yeah.
baseball found me, what Michigan did. So I loved hockey, but it wasn't going to be something that I got to play at the highest levels.
Well, let's just say that worked out okay. I think that worked out okay. Uh, so you were originally groomed as a starter. I know you started some games for the Jays as well. I believe you're still considered to be a starter. I think when you came here, starter reliever. They weren't really sure. Uh, how did you find your niche as a reliever?
Well, I started all through college, high school in those days, which is normal for any of us. Any young player, you tend to be the best on the team or one of the best, so you start. But I caught all through high school. I actually caught more than I pitched, and in college, I started, but I never had a sore arm. I've never had a sore arm in my life. So I can pitch every day. I started all through the minor leagues, but I knew even back then, I was learning baseball very quickly because I had to, because I was probably behind my peers, both on the field, but really in understanding the game and how it's structured. And by AAA, I knew that although I was our number one starter most years, I knew that I was built to be a reliever. I didn't have very good off-speed stuff, to be frank about it. It wasn't my specialty, and I just knew that. So I used to bug them to let me pitch in relief between starts. Can you imagine that happened today, Joe? Not a chance. But
No.
I would, and then the moment I got called to the big leagues, I was a reliever. There was no transition. There was no, and I like that. I think we've made the game so difficult for our young players now that that, oh, we need to transition him. I'm like, it's still around baseball, getting a big dude with a big piece of wood in his hand, get him out, get 3 outs before they score a run, and that's a good thing. So I never really cared much if I was starting or relieving, and it gave me versatility, and it allowed me to stay in the big leagues. I did the starting thing, but frankly, I just wasn't very good at it. But second, third time in the lineup, when you throw all fastballs, it's a scary situation you're in, to be perfectly honest.
Right. Yeah, you
Hmm.
see that nowadays. So the third time in the order, it's like, yeah, the starter's almost always gone these days, it seems. Now, okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
you mentioned you didn't have those butterflies. Okay, so what was it like though to take the mound in Toronto for that first time?
First time in Toronto, I was obviously with the Boston Red Sox, and I forget if it was. I think it was my first trip up there, and Frankie Viola or someone was hurt, maybe Clemens, and I got to start. And I'll tell you what, that's something that I wouldn't wish on any young pitcher these days. Like that lineup was as good as any lineup there's ever been, I think, with Alomar and the whole crew and Olerud. And I battled, but I think we got swept all 4 games, and I did as good as the other starters, but that wasn't good enough. And that was quite some awesome teams to play against and to watch win the World Series for 2 years as a Blue Jay fan, because people might not believe it, but you hate them when you're playing against them, but you appreciated the Blue Jays teams back then. And I was at the World Series when Joe hit the home run as a Red Sox player. So um, that was a very tough team to pitch against. So that's what I remember, is basically get my butt kicked by the Toronto Blue Jays.
So was that the '92 team the first time you faced them, or the '93 team?
I think that was a 92 team. 92, yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. So that would have been Winfield and
Yeah.
Alomar, and yeah, of course, and next year was Mulder. That was a pretty scary group of individuals, that's for sure. That'd be a tough day for any pitcher, even guy like Clemens, right?
Yeah.
Who's the best player you've ever played beside, or had playing behind you, I guess?
Best player. Damn, that's a good question. Um, I think sometimes we become biased because of people we care about and like, or become um, friendly with. But I guess just off the top of my head, some of the most talented players I was ever with, Adrian Beltre out in Los Angeles. Belly was just some kind of special, almost a freak. I guess Dodgers signed him when he was 16, but almost without effort, he could do things that no one else on the field could do. Um, Carlos Delgado, one of my best friends from the game and best teammates, him. Sean Green, same thing. Just gifted people that, and Carlos in particular and Sean really understood the game and cared so much about becoming better and getting good at what they did, that I always appreciated that about them, but just good people. So that's some of the best players I ever played with. Clemens, of course, Pat Henkin. Love watching Pat pitch as much as anyone I've ever watched pitch.
Yeah, he's Pat Hinkham was good. Saw Young, that was pretty nice. No, you had some pretty good awards yourself. I mean, you said you prefer to get in there almost every other game. You were almost every other game in the lineup. I mean, you're first Canadian to appear at 77 games in a season. In '98, you appeared in 82 games, had a 2.59 ERA, you had 7 saves, and you tied for the league lead in holes with 27. So you were a guy who the club could certainly rely on. And then you made it to the All-Star game in 2001 in Seattle. Lots of Jays fans in Seattle every time they go there. Tell us about that experience.
It was just awesome. Maybe one of the top highlights of my career, Joe. It was, and I say that because I enjoyed the All Star break, to be perfectly honest, getting away from baseball for a few days. But what was special was that I'd already been in the league for 10 years. I wasn't in awe of the players around me or anything else. I was just there enjoying it with my family, and I had my son in tow with me, Cal, my entire family. But Cal came to the field with me every day. Um, Enjoyed the All Star game as much as I did, I think. And it was just so, just being around it and knowing that I had earned my way there and belonged was, there being several young players there, and they were so intimidated by the Ripkins, and Kirby was there as an ambassador, Buck Puckett, and they were almost intimidated. And I told them, hey, you're here because you earned it. But that was only, I felt that way because I'd been in the league 10 years and knew all those guys. So it was a wonderful experience and a very proud moment for my family.
And it was the last All-Star game for Ripken and Tony Gwynn. And how
Mm.
cool is that to be, with those guys in their final All-Star game. And your team won. And you pitched.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Ichiro was there. He was a funny character to get to know and see, gifted guy like that. So it was fun.
No, so you mentioned yeah, you had Cal with you for that. I mean, he had a lot of great experiences in I'm going to talk to Cal about Cal in a little bit though, but um you had some great defensive players behind you, like Tony Fernandez. Who was the best defensive player behind you that you ever had with you?
Best defensive. One of the best outfielders I was is Raul, and Raul is very volatile, kind of uh, it's a guy that people didn't realize. He was seriously one of the most gifted baseball players I ever saw. Great arm, could run. Um, an overlooked guy that I played with in Toronto that a lot of people maybe didn't appreciate was Alex Gonzalez. Was a superb shortstop. Tony, of course. Mostly when I was younger and he was younger, playing against him was very difficult. He could get to everything. Um, who else? Some of the catchers, Mike Matheny, best catcher I ever threw to, and
Hmm.
that includes Charlie O'Brien, who is also, one of the best in the game ever, probably. But so I always cared almost more about the catchers because it made a bigger difference in my day-to-day life. But so Matheny was probably the biggest difference maker for me in my career.
So that feels pretty good when you take the field and you look at your defense. You throw into a guy like Matheny. Does it make you feel? I think I got this. Does it give you the confidence you're going to get this done?
It does. It's especially when you're a pitcher and that relationship with your catcher is so fun. And like Charlie O'Brien was the best, most gifted receiver of a baseball I've ever seen. He made you mad on the mound because he'd catch a ball and you would swear it was a strike. And I felt like I ain't pretty good. And he'd catch it and I'm just like, damn it. And I'd be getting mad at John Hirschbeck and all the above. Like, that's a strike, damn it. And when you looked at it later, it wasn't always a strike, but Charlie did a great job of receiving it.
Framed
But
it.
Charlie, on the
Yeah.
other, him Matheny, Charlie and I were almost in a constant argument. We were good friends off the field, and we spent some time together. But man, he just pissed me off as a pitcher. He just argued about every pitch I threw, whereas Matheny caught the ball pretty much as good, but it was you felt like you were in tune. I felt like I want to do this, but I have a little bit of reservation. But Matheny would throw the same fingers down, and you felt like I'm on the right page here. We're good, and I think that's the true art of catching. We focus a lot on the metrics about the receiving the ball and everything, but so much of it is instilling in a pitcher, making him feel like he's probably better than he was or is. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's important, right? And that psychic ability when you're on the same page is pretty good too.
Yeah.
So, what was you played for a lot of different managers? What was Cito Gaston like to play for?
I thought Cito was awesome. When I first came over, Cito's never been a pitcher's guy, and it took us a few years. And almost when Cito left as manager back, um, but I would put Cito up as they're probably equal one manager, just as a man, as a person. When you get to know Cito, he's steady Eddie, cares about his players. He can be hard on pitchers. He's a hitter. They hate us pitchers because we seem to make the game go too long. I just liked his calmness and his coolness. And you've been around him a lot, Joe. When you're in a room with Cito, he can take over things without saying very many words.
A calm, cool presence, and what I remember the most about Cito is guys would go through the wall for him. I mean, just everybody came to play. Nobody wanted to disappoint Cito, and that was a big part of it. So you finally end up with the Dodgers, the team that drafted you originally, thanks to a pretty bad trade by J.P. Ricciardi. Uh, what was that like to go to the Dodgers, and it worked out okay, and then you ended up getting a good deal with the Yankees, a really good deal.
Yeah, it was. To be frank, it was a tough time because I had just signed an extension. I just came off the All Star game. Um, came to an agreement with the Blue Jays without becoming a free agent. And frankly, they had me traded before I made the deal, which is something I always look back with a sour taste. But it's a business, and I always understood that. But I always got traded, so that was
Oh,
difficult. I'd been living at home for for 6 years with my kids growing up and in the community, and LA is not just down the road, so the fear of it was a little bit at first for my family's sake, but to be frank, we loved it. The 2 years in LA were fantastic. Loved my team and teammates. Two of my favorite years I ever played, to be honest. Really great.
yeah. So I was sorry. I broke up there for a bit. I don't know if you lost me or not. But I think you were still talking. I think you were talking about your LA experience. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Technical issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that was. I know that was. I know that it was not a trade that you felt really good about. I know that was a problem for you, and but then you signed the deal with the Yankees, and you know, first of all, you had 3 years in a row when you went. You led the league. I think it was 4 years in a row in appearances, but you had 86, 89, 86 appearances. That's a lot of durability. Did you always think that you could be a guy who could be that durable?
Yeah, and it wasn't. I think the thing that's become, nobody pitches in 75 games much anymore, but it's unfortunate because it was no one told me that I couldn't do that, and therefore I did it. And it was something I took great pride in being available to my team each and every day, winning or losing. It was filling those innings and mostly winning, hopefully. But it's just you also learn the game when you can learn on your sides days and from people and from coaches. But frankly, I learned a lot more by simply being on the hill and throwing a baseball. So my arm never hurt. So frankly, it just didn't matter if I pitched in 100 games, it wouldn't have hurt my arm. So that's the problem for most guys; they just can't do that.
There was some criticism, Joe Torre, when you went to the Yankees, that perhaps he was overusing you, but it sounds to me like you never thought that was the case.
No, Joe's a great man. Probably the best leader of men that I've ever been around. Joe, no one questioned. And we had a lot of prima donnas there, right? We had everyone had been in the All Star game. And when Joe walked into the room, he was the boss, and there was no question about that. Very much like Cito. Um, Joe takes a lot of heat about that a lot of times, about the bullpen. And that's a debatable thing, but for me, frankly, you've never heard an interview or me ever say blames with Joe. I was a veteran guy. If I didn't want to pitch, I would have said no, I can't pitch today. And I wish and hope that young players become more accountable. If you can't pitch, or you're going to hurt yourself. If you get hurt, you're going to hurt your team. Therefore, say I can't pitch. But I certainly didn't do it because I'm a tough guy or anything else. I did it because my arm didn't bother me. I was prepared to pitch each and every day. So anybody that wants to blame Joe, that's just wrong. It was I took the ball, and sometimes that was probably not the wisest decision, but it was a decision that I made personally. So
Well, and you were gifted with an arm that could handle it, right? So I mean, that's just that's you're gifted that way, and you can do it. I mean, there's not a lot of guys who could, but you are clearly one guy who could. So we want to talk about the ups and downs of playoff baseball. Okay, so 2004, you're playing the Twins, and then the Yankees dropped the first game of that series to the Twins. Then in the second game, game two goes extra innings. So now you were talking about a best of five series here. So game two goes extra innings. You guys lose that game, it's probably over. I mean, it's hard to come back from 2-0 down, and I believe you guys were the home team for the first two games. So that would have
yeah.
been a disaster. But you got the winning game too, in extra innings, and that was phenomenal. And then the Yankees came back to win that series. Now you got the Red Sox. You guys are up 3 games to none. All right. Game four goes to extra innings. This time though, you're on the mound when they take the loss. How does that feel? And what was that like as an experience for you? I mean, did that get to you?
Well, at the moment, it's almost like it's like a bad dream. and Ortiz hits a home run off me, and it's just tough. But again, Joe, we were up three games to none, so you felt like, okay, well, we've got this. It's not that big a deal, but personally, it hurts. But it's a great teaching tool because I never regret it. I didn't even regret the pitch I threw. Ortiz just beat me on that given pitch. Um, for young players, when I'm with the Blue Jays working with them, or our Canadian national team guys, um, young guys, they can Google you and find all that. They can pull the video up and show here's Coach Q getting bombed by Ortiz in the playoffs. And I always just smile, and then I remind them. I said the reason that some of you will never pitch in the big leagues is because you wouldn't have wanted to be in that position, and I did. I would have taken that ball the next night in the same position, and you know what? Sometimes we lose, and I gave my best. I always said, as long as I can leave the game, look myself in the mirrors and say that was the best I had today, then I had my beer and I was good. And that wasn't much different. It stung a little more at the time, though. I will say that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too. I wanted to ask you. It's a tough question. I don't like to shy away from the tough questions, so I thought I'd throw that out there. But I know
No,
it was. But you know what? It almost like seemed like that there was so much that happened around that. I mean, the end of the curse of the Bambino, and for them to come back from 3-0 down, and it was just such a phenomenal. It was really, I mean, it was. I guess you're almost kind of part on the part of history. You're on the wrong side of it a little bit, but you're also to witness what transpired between the Yankees and the Red Sox in that series. What was that like? What was it? What did it feel like when it was finally over?
well, obviously disappointing because we were on the losing end. But to your point, exactly, it was a historical series. Every game you played against, and remember, I came up with the Red Sox, so every game you played against the Yankees was the fans were crazy. They hated the Red Sox, and then I flipped and went the other way, was with the Yankees, and so every single game, even during the season, was huge. But that playoff atmosphere was something I've never been around anything like it in my life. But just incredible, fun, but disappointing. And you could, after we lost that first game, where I lost that game, I can't say that we were that scared. We were a very, very good team. The thing they had on us, and we kind of knew it, was their starting pitching was better than ours, frankly. But we had a really good pen. But the thing we were struggling with is both myself we were a little bit worn out. Um, Tom Gordon, Flash, and even Mariano.
Hmm.
If you look back, that's one of the very few times in his career that he ever had any letdowns in the playoffs. I mean, he's the greatest pitcher there's ever been in my book. But we just once they got the momentum, it shifted, and we knew it. And by that last game, it was a struggle.
That was yeah, yeah. There was some, I don't know, providence or something. Something was happening there. It was like, was there a point though? Was there a point in that series with the Red Sox where the shift took place where you thought, uh-oh. Like, I mean,
I
probably
said
not that game, probably not the next game, but maybe game 6 or 7. Was there a place where you went, uh-oh?
game six was when that made you nervous as that game went on. It's like, hey, we need to take this one, and we were light on starting pitching even for the seventh game, and we had to pick and choose. And so I would say that the first time I felt it, or as a group, you noticed we were a little different. We were such a veteran group in the clubhouse. Usually this wasn't a problem, but it was it was probably started to develop in the middle of game six that this is getting serious now. And
Hmm.
like you say, it was a historical thing, and you got to give the Red Sox a lot of credit. They never gave up. They were so much different than us. They were like a college team. They were a lot of hoopla and hats backwards and
Yeah.
carrying on, and you don't appreciate that when you're on the other team, but it's the way they rolled, and we were like this professional juggernaut of just players that went to work and kicked your ass, really. But they got and just beat us, frankly.
Yeah, and that the yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. So it sort of reminded me of the Leafs against the Habs in round one this year, when the Leafs went up 3 games to 1, and you're thinking, yeah, they're home and cooled out now after dropping the
Yeah, it's
first
over.
game. And yeah, yeah, it's over, right? It's over. No. Is the Habs series over against Tampa?
No, I
It's
don't
a little
think so.
different
I thought
scenario.
the Habs were playing
Yeah.
them big time. I mean, it was
Yeah.
fortunately they won the game last game, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not.
I'm hoping too. I like to see this go 7 games. And really, it wouldn't matter who won, but if they went 7 games, that'd be a lot of fun. There'd be a lot of pressure on Tampa
Yeah.
if that happened. Okay, so you talked a little bit about working with the guys for the national team. After your career ended, you went to work for the Blue Jays, went to work for the Canadian team. How did that come about?
Well, Greg Hamilton's always been a friend, and I guess I would see myself as I played in a couple of WBCs, but as a young person, I was in the U.S., so I didn't get to really take advantage or be a huge part of our national program. But um, I loved. As soon as I retired, I started coaching the junior national, like the junior team, the 18 and unders, and going around the world with them a little bit, as often as I could go anyway. And it just grew into something that, just a passion that I have. In seeing young players get an opportunity. It's just so much harder, Joe, in Canada because, hockey, everyone knows we're the best. In baseball, to get a scholarship or to get signed, the pro world's a little better because we'll come hunt you down if you're a good player. But to get a college scholarship, to get real opportunity, can be very, very difficult for Canadian kids. So that's part of the reason that I jumped on board with Greg with the junior program. But of course, that led to the national team, the senior team, and the WBC and such. So, big part of my life and something I care about dearly.
Um, no, the working with the Blue Jays. That what's that been? Tell us about that experience for you.
Well, when I first left baseball, I had no real intention in getting back in. I have my degree. I've got lots of things I thought I would like to pursue, but honestly, it was a big part of it was Paul Beeston. Beast just kept bugging me to come back and say you just come back and mill around, be around. And I finally told him once that if I come back, I expect to be held accountable and to work and to be doing something. I'm not some Joe Carter or anybody that can come back and draw the fans or anything. I'm not that kind of
A mascot.
uh, yeah, I'm a guy that I wants to get gritty, get dirty, and be around the kids, and hopefully be a somewhat of a mentor to them. So, Beeston got that started, and then it carried through into the new guys with Mark and Ross, and it's been a huge part of my life, and it's I thought I would walk away from baseball, but you learn pretty quickly that baseball is a huge part of who I am. So I enjoy giving back and talking to the boys, whether it be Baraki and Mesa and Romano and all the kids that have come through in my tenure there. It's wonderful to see them doing well.
Yeah, so these kids, you watch them kind of grow up in the organization, like a lot of these guys, and you got a chance to work with a lot of them. What was it like when the Jays made the playoffs in 2016, 2017, and then again last year? What was that like for you? I mean that game in 2017, was it 2017, the game with Texas? Or was that 16?
I, I
Game
think that was
five.
16, wasn't it?
Might have
I
been
think.
six. Yeah, it might
I'm
have been
not very good
16.
at
I
the
may
dates.
again.
You got to know all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
Joe.
yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, I used to know that stuff. My brain's not working like it used to. So anyway, that series against Texas, that game against Texas, I was in the press box for game five. That was unbelievable. Have you ever seen anything like that in baseball?
Never, not ever, not even with the Yankees, Red Sox. The aura was the same, but that I thought they were going to blow the roof right off that building. Unbelievable and a great time for the Blue Jays. And for me personally, though, one thing it's a funny thing because I know all the guys and I'm a part of it, especially the younger players as they're coming up. So you're just so proud of them. But I have a thing. I feel like I had my day and I got to live in that clubhouse and bring my kids in that clubhouse and I don't spend a lot of time. I'm around the guys, and I'll go in and chat with them if they want to. But I give them their space. That's their domain now, and I think they appreciate that. So as part of it, I was in there to give them hugs when they came in. But other than that, I don't. It's their time to celebrate. Veteran players that want to hang out and be a part of something that they didn't do. I I don't. That's not me at all.
Right, but that was so cool though. I mean, what an emotional roller coaster, right? When they scored that run, when the throw went off the when Russell Martin's throw went off the bat, and they didn't know what to call it originally, and they called him out, and then they called him safe, and so the Texas now has a
Yeah.
lead, and there's been so much animosity between the two teams, and then and then the error after error after error, and then Batista hits the home run. It was just, you know what? It just I don't know. being there when he did that bat flip, it just seemed to suit the moment to me. As
Yeah.
somebody watching the game from that, I never had any problem with that. What about you? What do you think of that? All that?
If it was during a regular game, I probably would have drilled him right in the back the next at bat.
Yeah,
But in that, you said it great, Joe. It was unbelievable. It was like if you wrote a script like that for a movie, people would simply say that's just too much. That's going too far.
yeah,
But it happened. It happened in front of our eyes, and it was just awesome. And for Hosey to flip that bat, it was called for. It was awesome, and our
yeah,
fans loved it. Uh,
yeah,
the game has changed, and as long as the players can work it all out and get along, I don't care. So they can flip the bat if they want, and but wow, that was the most unbelievable moment in history, along with Joe with the home run. But
yeah,
that one got
yeah,
so built up as you just described. It was when he hit that home run. It was the bat flip. It was unbelievable.
yeah. Because of the way the game was going, when the Texas took that lead, it almost seemed like, geez, it's over.
Yeah,
It's over. And
yeah.
then it was devastating almost. And then all of a sudden to turn around like that. Yeah, what a game. What a lot of fun we can have in baseball. It's just that's what the game's all about. So, okay, 2010, you're inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's. Tell us about that experience and how what was that like for you?
Best part of that, it was all family and friends, and even the community down in St. Catherine and sorry, in St. Mary's. I've been a part of that crew for a long, long time. Care a lot about all those people down there, and recognize that it was for me. It wasn't the honor of being in the Hall for Canada. It's being a part of such a hall of a community of people that care. It's like a local group that's a national program, and they're just from Tom Volk when he was there then, and Scotty Crawford that runs it now. It's just a community of people you want to be around, and going down for the inductions, and we used to have a trip. I'd take the kids down from our local community, Port Hope, and we'd have a friendship series, we called it, with kids, my son, and just play some games. We would mix the two teams just so they got to know one another. They would do scavenger hunts at the Hall of Fame, and I would say that so many of the kids that I coached in 10, 11, 12-year olds will remember St. Mary's for that, and remember their baseball lives for that. Is that it was just fun times, and that's really what baseball should be for all the kids.
We talked a lot about your family. I want to talk about your son Cal now. Tell us about Cal, a standout pitcher at Stanford. Was it, I guess, probably hard to keep him off the diamond? He was with you all that time when you're coming through the game yourself, and to have him around like that, I guess it was came natural that he just wanted to be a pitcher, right?
Yeah, yeah. Cal played a lot of positions. He caught and played shortstop and third base quite a bit. Actually, third base right all through high school. But Cal loved being it. He loved baseball, and that's something. If I was proud about anything as far as regarding baseball and Cal, it's that he still enjoys the game and always did. It never became a chore or something that at times felt like pressure, like I felt that of hockey and for whatever reason growing up, and I think Cal did too. But baseball for us was just something that we just did. It was like playing a pickup game with your friends, and of course you take it serious because you're competitive. But I'm very proud of Cal for that. He loved playing as a little boy, and he still loves playing.
Well, he was first round pick by the Padres, so picked ahead of Dad. He
Mhm.
now is with the Indians. So tell me, who's got the better stuff?
Yeah, Cal's got way better stuff than I ever had. My stuff wasn't that good, Joe. You know that. I knew how to use my stuff, and I tricked a lot of people for a lot of years. But my stuff wasn't. Cal's got he's got some very very good stuff, and and like any young guy, he's gone through his ups and downs, but he's sorting things out and becoming a good young pitcher.
Great ERA, that's for sure. Um, okay, so let's talk about this year's Blue Jays club, the current edition of this year's Blue Jays club. I mean, they got three All Stars voted in: Marcus Semien, Teoscar Hernandez, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette added to the reserve squad. I don't know if they've even ever had that before. I know maybe 92, 93 they might have three or four All Stars, but this is phenomenal. And what do you say about a team like that?
Well, it's nice because I think we all got hyped when we had the kids. Like Bij and Vladdy and then Bichette. And we have some other great young players coming along. And when we had our years where we're retooling, I guess we'd say, but sometimes you hear a lot of the hype, but in the end, and I know that it doesn't. It only still works out for maybe 1 in 3. But for that group, even Biggio is still a main cog in the wheel. For them to all come to fruition and to be big league players and players that matter, and now all-star players, couple of them, it's just phenomenal, and that's good for the organization, good for Ross and Mark, and but really exciting for me, almost more as a fan, just like yourself and our fan base, is can these kids really turn into the players that we hoped they were going to be, and the hype suggested they were going to be. Vladdy didn't look like that player a year ago, even if we were honest, and he went through some injuries, and so for me, it's just really awesome to see that things have come to fruition where our players are that good. But we have a long way to go as far as filling some other holes. But Simeon, guys like him, unbelievable player, by the way. That was a great addition. So they're exciting to watch. For me, just as a fan, not as a coach or someone involved with the Blue Jays, they put together a really great group of fun to watch baseball players.
Right. I mean, there's really good stories there with all these guys. You think of Semyon, who's hitting like $120 in April or whatever, well into May, and then he's turning it around, and then Vlad was like, is he going to be third base? Is he going to be first base? He's getting shifted all around. Where's this kid going to play? It's kind of what's his confidence going to be like? The home run derby doesn't the same player coming out of that. What's going to happen with Vlad? Is he going to be this as good as we originally hoped? Bo has been phenomenal as well, but Teoscar Hernandez is another great story, almost
Yeah.
like a throw in from the Astros. Nobody expected a lot of things from him. He's never a guy who never really hit for average, never really hit for power either. Really, when you consider what his potential was, but yet look at him now, and it's a team that's growing together rather nicely, and it kind of has some. It does remind me a little bit of the '92 club with the nice additions with the homegrown talent coming together nicely. It's pretty good. The one thing we have a problem with though is that bullpen. So 7 or 8 games I can think of that the bullpen has cost them. Now they've made some changes to that. Did they wait too long?
Well, I think we've brought in 3 different arms, plus we had a bundle of arms in AAA. But to be frank, Joe, it's just getting to be so difficult. As you know, you're going to go through 30 pitchers a year, 25, 30 minimum. And that makes it almost impossible unless some young arms get to the big leagues and can be an impact right away. And it's just so difficult, especially coming out of COVID, because those players didn't get to play much last year. So, I know they've been trying to bring in some more arms, but to me, the biggest problem is you don't have any stability in your bullpen. It's, even when you get a few guys really rocking, one of them gets hurt or has a little stiffness, a little soreness. There's just no continuity, which we used to have, and you knew when you were coming into a game, you knew what your job was, and it's difficult for young players that aren't quite ready yet for leverage type innings, and it's very difficult for management because what else do you do? Everybody's hurt. Old guys can't pitch back to back days. What we used to do with like 10 or 12, maximum 12 guys in a bullpen, it takes about 16 different guys per week. I mean, because they're rolling kids up and down all the time. So for me, not to make excuses for the Blue Jays, but every club's in the same boat. Just trying to keep your bullpen stocked is next to impossible these days.
Yeah, they were able to do it last year in that shortened season in the bubble, and it worked out pretty good for them. Like they made the playoffs. What do you know about the guys? Some of the guys that they brought in. Rowdy Tellez just traded for Trevor Richards, and I know Bowden Francis. He's a minor leaguer. Probably don't know much about him, but Trevor Richards. What can you tell us about Trevor Richards?
Richards, for me, I've seen him more down in Tampa Bay, but real solid, great arm, throws a lot of strikes, which I'm a huge fan of. Pretty good mix of stuff to work with too, which he can throw his off speed for strikes. For me, he's just that guy. He's steady Eddie. He's going to go in, he competes, and he'll be a late inning type guy. He doesn't seem to pitch different, whether it's early, late, scores tied. Really seems to have a good feel. So that's, for me, I think it's a huge addition. Should make a big difference.
Got some good numbers here. 3.69 ERA, 31.7% of strikeouts, and 9.8% walk rate. That's pretty impressive. What about Adam Simber, the side armor they got from the Marlins? Oh, did you catch that? Adam Simber.
You still got me, Joe? Yeah, I'm breaking up a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Sorry, I guess I broke up there. Adam Simber, the side armor they got from the Marlins. What do you think about Simber?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
he's a great addition. I've seen him quite a bit. Played with my son in Cleveland, and funky guy. You first see him, it's hard to see how that stuff will play because for any of us, it's just not traditional. You see some guys over the years, but his stuff plays, and it's a real good mix in there. And it's so important, it seems these days, to have a different look. These hitters, they study so much video. They know what you look like before they've ever seen you. They've watched hundreds and hundreds of reels of you pitch. So a guy like Simber could be a big difference, even a bigger difference maker than people would think, simply because it's funky. I mean, he's coming not just sidearm, he's down under pretty much, and I mean, he's actually is throwing the ball uphill at times, I'd say.
Mark Eichhorn. Jacob
Yeah.
Barnes. Yeah, Jacob Barnes.
hmm
He pitched, I
Again,
think, last night.
yeah, great addition because I think one of the things that we're always shooting for, and rightfully so, is we always want the next Mariano Rivera. We want the next Eric Gagne. We want some superstar closer, and so we bring in the 97 to 100 mile an hour guys, and they might be a little wild, but we're going to fix that, and we're going to. And sometimes you need guys that are just really good. Sometimes they end up being your closer. You need some steady Eddie guys that can get the game to the closer if you have it, or even manage that closer role. And guys like Barnes and Richard, that's the right types of guys. Um, Steady guys that you pretty much know on a daily basis what you're going to get when they take the hill.
So yeah, they brought in John Axford, fellow Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself when they
Yep.
signed, why don't they just bring Quantrill back? I mean,
No
Axford,
chance of that,
38
Joe.
years old. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
over 500 big league appearances. So yeah, I mean, I know you're not coming back, but you think Axford has got anything left, or you think there might be something there?
I think he does, Joe. I was just with Axe down for the Olympic qualifiers down in Florida, and Axe has got quite a bit of gray in his beard now, and but he's Axe. He's in good shape, and I mean, the guy just steps up on the hill and throws 96, and he was throwing. He threw the ball great for us down in Florida in the qualifier, and probably part of the reason they sent some guys over and he got seen, and I think he threw for us for the Blue Jays. But it certainly can't hurt. Axe is a great human being, a good guy to be mentoring the young players, and but frankly, I think he'll be a part of the mix. I thought it was a real fantastic move, and he's one of us. He's living in Canada, and that's the only team he really wanted to sign with us with the Blue Jays. So best of luck to Axe, and he's got. It isn't just some old guy they're signing for the media to talk about. I would tell you that I was just with him a few weeks ago, and he's throwing the ball very very well.
So uh, I want to talk a little bit of controversy here. Just Stripling. He apologized for showing up Joe Panic after the throwing error on the mat. Did you ever find yourself in a position where you really felt like giving the guy a little bit of a stare down or dressing him down a little bit, but you didn't do it, or did that ever even come into play? Is this something like that? The guy makes a mistake and he did it once, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I guess my thoughts are this: is that anybody that says that they never had the thought of at least showing emotion and being pissed that a guy made a
Yeah.
mistake or made a bonehead play, that's crazy. If you're competitive and you're part of a team culture, it's you want to win. So if someone makes a mistake, it sucks. But that being said, I never did it, and I couldn't do it because it's hard to live with yourself. But you get excited. And Stripling, I think more of it was made of it than needed to be even. Everything I know about Stripling is good stuff. He's a good teammate. He just lost his emotions for a minute. And you only need to go back to some of our favorite players we've ever had as Blue Jays. Dave Steep. Dave didn't hide it very well. Dave would get pissed pissed at his teammates. And it's just, we're all different, and we have to accept that not everyone can keep that emotion in every time. And so for me, on the positive side of it, it shows me that Stripling cares, that he desperately wants to succeed and do well, and his team to do well. So, you need to apologize to the teammate as he did and to your team, but that's part of competitive nature of our sport.
Well, that's what do you think, Paul? I'm just going to put you on the spot here a little bit. You think this team is? Do you think they're done dealing? You think this team is ready to go, and you think this team is going to be competitive?
I don't think Ross and Mark are ever done dealing. They always seem to be working on things, and Joe Sheehan and the group. But and I think you need to be, because especially volatile with players, getting hurt and staying on the field. So I think they will continue to try to make additions. But that being said, it's tough for us, for the Blue Jays, because you can't afford to give up what they've worked so hard for the last 3-4 years to rebuild and to bring up the exciting young players. Because when you start giving away those players when they're in AA and AAA, you don't get to see the Vladdies and the Bo Bichettes of tomorrow, and the Nate Pearsons and such. So they're going to try to add, but you simply can't do it at the expense of what you've been building for years. There is times, like you look at the 92, 93 Jays, there's times when you need to add your Mulder, your Ricky Henderson, those guys to put you over the top, give you a chance to win the whole thing. But I think right now we're getting there, and hopefully that can come to fruition this year, and we'll be in the playoffs. But to me, you can't blow up what you've worked so hard to build. I think what we want as Blue Jays is continuity. We want a good competitive team each and every year. And when some of those kids come into their own, like Teoscar, and guys you didn't even expect to come into their own, and the Romanos of the world, who we didn't even protect from the Rule 5 a few years ago. It's a wonderful thing to see. It means you're getting lots of good young players. So I certainly hope we don't go too far. We need additions, and they will continue to, but not at the expense of what they worked so hard for.
How close is Nate Pearson to returning?
I don't know. He's been battling, and some of those injuries, like they're injuries that there is no timeline as far as I'm concerned. It's like I don't even remember it being a real injury in my days, but the ribs and all these things that guys get hurt now. Maybe there's just too much muscle on these guys now, but.
Yeah.
But Nate Pearson does. He's a difference maker guy. He's unbelievable arm, can throw strikes. But frankly, we need guys like him on the field. No one's going to be talking about Nate Pearson in 10 years if he doesn't stay healthy and be and do what he's capable of doing. So great young player, works so hard, and I think he'll be fine. But to when he can be back, I don't know, Joe.
It's gonna be fun. I mean, if this guy can come back and be effective before the end of the season, that's gonna be wow. You add that to what you've already got in that mix, and it's pretty good, right? Well, listen, Paul, I
Agreed.
want to thank you so much. It's been really great to have you on the show. You've been a lot of good stuff here. I've had really enjoyed this. We've got some great threads for you from Classica Imports. Drop by and see Jeff. He's awesome. I'm going to give you a gift certificate for that. And remember that we're all in it together. And thanks again, Paul Quantrill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Wonderful to get to see you.
All right.
Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.
Do you realize that 80% of golfers enjoy country music?
Really?
No, but 100% of golfers enjoy timely play. And that means being ready when it's your turn. Bring enough clubs to make a shot when you go to a ball that's away from your bag. Leave your clubs in an advanced position so when you move on, you're not going backwards. Remember, we're all in this together.
Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com.
All right, now it's time for my COSA Swiss pick of the week. You know, last week we were Mohawk for Thursday night's 7th race. I went with the number 7 horse in the 7th race,
sensing the
Dashing Muscle. And you know what? I was looking golden at the top of the stretch when Dashing Muscle charged into the lead from the outside. But watch out for Up and Ready, the number 4 horse, the favorite, with Doug McNair driving for trainer John Bax. Look at that horse go to work. He's flying out there. He pulled away to win easily. The 465 Triactor paid $264.70 on a $2 ticket. Dashing Muscle slid back into 5th. This week, we're going to Mohawk again for Thursday night's 2nd race, and I like the 3 horse. How can I not like this horse with a name like Kipper, Whipper, Snipper? It's an OSS Gold event. Louis-Philippe Roy drives for conditioner Rob Fellows. Thank you, Vic. Owner and breeder Ed Wilson. He's coming off an excellent qualifier where he cruised to a 12-length victory. My record on the year is now 6 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 5 fourths, 3 fifths, 2 eighths, and a 10th. For all racing updates, visit COSA TV on Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options. Well, for the first time ever, a pair of Canadians made the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam event. And one of them has made it through to the semifinals at Wimbledon for the very first time. Denis Shapovalov, the pride of Richmond Hill, got the job done. El Chapo, who seated 10th at the All England Club, blew out Roberto Augusta Agu in straight sets to reach the Final Four, where he just took care of business against Karen Khachanov. Shapovalov rallied from 2 sets to 1 down against the 25th ranked Czech, but he came back and won it. It took the 4 sets 6-1. And it was 6-4 in the 5th. He'll now face the legend Novak Djokovic in the Final Four. The world number 1 Djokovic has 5 Wimbledon titles, 19 Grand Slam victories. No matter what happens, this is awesome. Felix Auger-Aliassime came up with the biggest win of his young career, knocking off 4-seeded Alexander Zverev in tough 5-set thriller to advance to the Elite 8 at Wimbledon. Massive effort for the 20-year-old from Montreal. He is on the court right now against his pal, Italy's Matteo Berrettini, the number 7 seed, and they're tied at 1 set each, playing in the 3rd, and they are good buddies, and apparently their girlfriends are cousins. How about that? All right, the Habs and Lightning get another chance to stay alive. The Lightning get another chance to finish them off in the Stanley Cup Final. Josh Anderson with the overtime winner, his 2nd of the game. Carey Price was terrific, finally stole a game for the Habs in the final. As they take Game 4, the Bolts will get the chance to close it out at home. I can't see this club losing 4 straight to anybody, but it would be nice to see this one go 7 games. Congratulations to last week's guest here on Joe Tilley Sports, Jim Lawson, who will be inducted into the Burlington Sports Hall of Fame this October. Jim has quite the resume. He's the CEO of Woodbine Entertainment Group. He was a heck of an athlete as well. He's a former Habs draft pick who played for their farm team. He played every sport. He coached baseball at a very high level. He's the chair of the CFL's Board of Governors, former commissioner of the CFL. Congratulations, Jim. By the way, that proposed CFL-XFL merger is no longer under consideration. The CFL will continue to be a all-Canadian 3-down league. Well, I couldn't believe that Giannis Antetokounmpo was able to suit up for the Bucks in Game 1 of the NBA Finals after watching his knee bend backwards last week. Unfortunately, the Greek Freak wasn't enough. Chris Paul and the Suns took the opener. Paul is looking good and making his first trip to the final in 16 years. 32 points and 9 assists in his debut in the finals. That's not too shabby at all. Slick little flick by Jorginho sends Italy into the finals at Euro, slipping past Spain in penalties. Now the Italians are now undefeated in 33 straight matches. The England-Denmark should be a dandy semifinal as well. Toronto SC is looking for a new head coach after Chris Armas was sacked just 11 games into the season. The announcement came after the Reds were embarrassed 7-1 by DC United, matching the worst margin of defeat in franchise history. FC is currently riding a 6-game losing streak and sits last in all of Major League Soccer. Armas leaves Toronto with the Reds owning a 1-8-2 record. The Reds have been racked with injuries and having no real home games at all. That can't help the situation whatsoever. Okay, we close with a look at the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. I highly recommend them all. A reminder that this show is also available on the Spanglish Network and Zingo TV. Thanks once again to Paul Quantrill for being on the show. It was awesome. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when Rod Black and Ken Shaw drop by for a British Open preview. We'll see you then.
Get Aldo at Remax Crossroads. Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver? Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit www.getaldo.com to find out what next level real estate looks like. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Gold Line Resources, discovering high-grade gold in Sweden. Gold Line Resources owns a prospective portfolio of 4 high-grade gold exploration projects located on the Gold Line mineral belt of north-central Sweden, and 1 gold exploration project in the Skellefteå belt of north-central Sweden. For more information on how you can invest in this new initiative, go to goldlineresources.com or call 1-800-858-9710. Gold Line Resources can also be found on the TSX Ventures Exchange as GLDL. Looking for an advantage in choosing your investment options? Belmont Venture Capital will provide you with the best up-to-date opportunities in the mid-cap and junior sector. The company was formed 12 and a half years ago and is spearheaded by 2 seasoned veterans of the financial markets with over 80 years combined experience. Go to BelmontVentureCapital.com today for the latest hot picks on the market. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. BelmontVentureCapital.com. Brought to you by MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business consulting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the needs of our clients in the private, public, and non-for-profit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to doing business and personalized strategies to help people and organizations succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Toronto, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, our team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca to learn more.